How's it going, YouTube? This is Wake Run Collapse. A couple of weeks ago, 2 new sets were released in Japan, Facing a New Trial and The Best of X and Y. Both were essentially reprint sets, but they were very different from one another, and as a result, they had different successes and failures. So I'm here to talk about these sets today, and the state of reprints in the Japanese TCG, as well as my thoughts on how we can improve things for players and collectors going forward. Now, let's talk about The Best of X and Y first. Although it's a standalone set, and there are unlikely to be others like it for quite a while, it did a huge amount of things right. It was definitely a set for the players, first and foremost. Despite the high cost of the average pack, which is the equivalent of about $5 US if you were to buy one in a shop somewhere in Japan, every card in the pack served a purpose. You were guaranteed 3 regular trainer cards, 7 regular Pokemon, the majority of which actually saw play in one deck or another, a special energy card, 3 non-holo versions of formerly holographic Pokemon cards, which were generally also popular, and then the 14th and 15th card were a mirror foil, and then an EX or break card. Now the set lived up to its name by including the best from a lot of different sets. Given the dwindling availability of most X and Y sets from the cheaper online shops, this is a fantastic way to boost a player's collection without making them turn to the secondary market to get everything they need, or even worse, buy packs from every set with fingers and toes crossed for good pulls. Now, if these boxes are available in-store in Japan more frequently, that wouldn't necessarily surprise me, but given how difficult it is to find them at their original pricing online, I wouldn't be surprised if they're getting scarce, so that makes this aspect of the Best of X and Y's strength relevant and preferred amongst Japanese collectors as well. But again, it's an assumption I'm making. If you live in Japan and you can find those sets readily, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, as a collector, there's a lot to like in this set too. Although the acclaim is not universal in this regard, and we'll get to that in a minute, the set is huge at 171 cards, with a ton of variety included. It balloons to over 300 cards if you decide to pursue the full arts, ultra rares, and 128 mirror foil variants in the set. Now, if you decide not to collect the mirror foil cards, collecting the regular 171 cards is still an achievable goal, but not so easy as to cheapen the journey to completion. With a definite increase in the pull ratio of full arts or better, getting a special card from a box was easier and improved the experience of both large-scale and small-scale collecting. I personally got 19 full arts or better out of 20 boxes, so claiming a pull rate of over 80% seems pretty safe. Now, the mirror foils themselves were spaced out in such a way that certain boxes tended to carry specific clumps of them, I guess you could say, which is how I was able to pull the final 9 I needed for my set in a single 10-pack booster box. This can be good and bad, though, as it's easy in later stages of collecting to get absolutely no new mirror foil cards from the full box. If you're going to buy a case, it's great news for your collection, but if you're only buying between, say, 2 and 5 boxes, which I think is a more reasonable purchase, you've got a chance to get snake-bitten by this spacing if it just so happens that you get one of those duplicate mirror boxes. Now, here are the 2 problems I had with the Best of X and Y as a collector. They're fairly minor in the grand scheme of things, but they're absolutely worth going over. I don't want people to think that I unabashedly love this set and will overlook its flaws and all that. We're here to give you the real talk. So, number 1. Now, despite having 3 trainer cards per pack, which is awesome, there was definitely a common and uncommon tier system with the trainers that made some of them easy to get and others much more difficult. Spirit Links were especially difficult to find in comparison to the other trainers, and though I eventually got 5 or 6 of each from my 20 boxes, I had long droughts without seeing some of them. The Camera-Up Spirit Link in particular did not appear in the regular form in the first 12 boxes or so. I'm not sure what their reasoning behind this was, and I suppose the value of the cards is low enough that it wouldn't be too much trouble to buy them as singles, but it's still something that could have been done better. And number 2, and here's the more important one for me. Would it have killed them to commission the artists for new artwork? This was one of the primary reasons why I felt EX Battle Boost while it did have some new cards, it was mostly reprints, why EX Battle Boost was so successful as a reprint set. The artwork was new, it was exciting, and the experience was akin to a new set as a result. Sun and Moon expansions in general have had a big issue of reprinting artwork on cards too frequently, which you can be assured I will be talking about in a few. The vast amount of trainer cards included in this set might have caused them to shy away from remaking all the artwork. After all, there are 64 regular Pokemon and 64 trainers/special energies, but even if they just gave the new art to the non-EX Pokemon, which is precisely what happened with EX Battle Boost, I think a lot of people would have felt invigorated opening their packs right from the get-go. I know my experience would have been heightened from that. Now, overall, despite its few shortcomings, I do feel that the Best of X and Y was a masterful example of how to please collectors and players alike. It's probably the most fun I've had with a set in a long, long time, and it's certainly the standout release since the start of the Sun and Moon block at the end of last year. However, not everything is sugar and rainbows, and that's come to light in the past few months with the Plus sets, if we can colloquially refer to them as such. For the purposes of keeping this video under an hour in length, I'm going to focus on Sun and Moon 2 Plus, Facing a New Trial, though I will draw comparisons to Sun and Moon 1 Plus where I see fit. First of all, let's talk about pricing. Having this set be 50% more expensive than the typical 100 card booster box without an increase in card quantity or pull rates is a tough pill to swallow. For that price, we really should be seeing a full art or better in every single box, rather than one in every other box, or at least hitting that 80% rate. This significantly reduces the value you get from a sealed box as a collector in the current format. Admittedly, they seem to be going away from those, $22 to $25 US booster boxes that the X and Y era saw, but it's not like those boxes are 10 years old and we just need to, get with the times. Explosive Fighter and Cruel Trader are less than a year old, and they were 100 card boxes with that lower price point. Are the new boxes worth 50% more than those? Just making the cards mirrorfoil does not make up for it, especially when you consider the following, and here's where the bulk of the video is going to be if you're thinking to yourself, why is this video so long? We've reached that part. So, number one, half of the cards are reprints, including the GXs. Now, in Facing a New Trial, Salazzle, Tapu Fini, Darkrai, and Machamp were new cards, while Tapu Bulu and Lycanroc already appeared in pre-constructed decks. That is one fewer reprinted GX in comparison to Sun and Moon 1 Plus, but that isn't saying all that much. It either cheapens this set, or it nullifies your need for having gotten the decks those GX cards initially appeared in, depending on how you look at it. There are also a good amount of regular card reprints in the set, I'd say about half or so without actually doing the math on it, and many of them have appeared only 5 weeks earlier in Islands Awaiting You or Lowland Moonlight with the exact same artwork. These cards offer nothing to collectors except the opportunity for those cards to grow old and stale faster. Some players might enjoy having mirror foil variants of those cards for their decks to bling them out, but either way, it's a double dip with very little time in between releases. Number two, and I don't really know why this hasn't caught as much flack as it should have in my mind, but there's an energy card in every pack. 20% of every booster box in Sun and Moon 2 Plus and Facing a New Trial is energy cards with a small amount of gloss on them. Given that Facing a New Trial only had 4 different types of energy cards, there was no reason why they couldn't just put one in every other pack, or, and here's a novel idea, and I don't want to blow anybody's mind, but increase the pack size to 6 and actually give us something for the extra cost. That'd be 120 cards, you could keep the 20 energies, give us 100 Pokemon cards, and then suddenly you've justified your price increase. Kind of. The opportunity for more non-energy cards, that ties into my third point, but bam, number 3, the set size should be larger. 49 cards with half of them being reprints, even with the tiered uncommon cards that only appear once in every other box or so, it's too small of a set. In my opinion, it should be closer to 60, or 65 cards before including full arts. Even if a portion of those extra cards were reprints, on the same ratio of reprint to new as the rest of the set, it would have made opening those boxes much less of a slog. I mean, with the pull rates for full arts or better being just so low, there needs to be extra incentive to actually buy those packs to get the fancy cards. And if they're going to give out 3GX boxes as regularly as this set did, an extra 10 or 15 cards in the regular set would have been a gesture of good faith for their fan base. Number 4, this is affected by the pull rates for sure, but even still, having 16 full arts or better in this type of set, it's a disaster. After the 3rd or 4th box, you're only in it for those premium cards. I mean, I was only in it for those premium cards. I looked forward to pulling GXs, but I wasn't excited by it as much as I would be with another set. Pretty much everything else is just in the way, unless you're looking for a playset of Darkrai. And I just don't think they're doing nearly enough to justify how top-heavy these plus sets are. They've really painted themselves into a corner with the inclusion of hyper rares, as it makes those sets nightmarish to complete, and sets the standard for hyper rare cards to be included in every new Sun and Moon set. And I like the hyper rare cards, but I pulled 2 hyper rares from my case. That's 2 in 20 boxes. That's 1 every 10 boxes. Does that mean I should buy 60 boxes of Facing a New Trial to pull 6 hyper rares and hope and pray that I don't get any duplicates? Of course it doesn't. It tells me that these types of sets are impossible to complete the traditional way, and I should only buy as many boxes as I think people will watch, and buy duplicates from before the law of diminishing returns kicks in for the channel and for my wallet. Now, clearly, I liked one of these sets better than the other, and it doesn't take a whole lot of brain power to figure out how much I enjoyed the best of X and Y in comparison to Facing a New Trial. In my individual case of Facing a New Trial had its own host of issues, such as missing both Darkrai's, the super rare and the hyper rare, and I also missed out on the Sarala Full Art Supporter, which is pricey too, despite getting 2 Sophocles. I'd like to chalk that up to good old-fashioned RNG, but regardless of your individual luck or lack thereof, I think I've outlined some pretty heavy criticism that these types of reprint sets face. Beyond that, we're having issues with individual cards as well. Grubbin? Yeah, Grubbin. Grubbin got its first ever card in December, and I'm on board with that. It's a new Pokemon. Give it a card. And that exact card has appeared in 4 different Japanese releases. Collection Moon, where it started, the Sun and Moon starter set on the same day, Sun and Moon 1 Plus, and the Tapu Bulu GX set, which, by the way, is a deck whose headlining card has also been reprinted now. All 4 cards, same artwork. Cosmog might even be worse, with 5 prints since December if you count the promo, and only that promo has seen a new piece of art on it. The other 4 were all the same, just like Grubbin. Now, there are over 800 Pokemon now, which is kind of mind-blowing to a fossil like me. Some of those 800 Pokemon haven't had a new card in years and years, and not only can they not come up with new ideas for sets, they keep including the same cards with 0 effort put in, hoping that we don't notice. But really, isn't the point to catch them all in the first place? So give us a little bit of variety when you're including these cards in your sets. So, there is a chance, I don't want to say a certainty, but a chance, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel for the plus sets. Sun and Moon 3 Plus in July seems to be completely overhauled according to the description on AmiAmi's website. Now that set has 72 cards, which instantly sounds way better, and there's 1 holographic card in every 6-card pack. It says Kira card, so that's holo. Of course, maybe they're getting rid of the mirror foils and are just reprinting the regular cards now while keeping the same price point, or maybe there are going to be some mirror foils and some regular holos, just maybe 1 regular holo, or maybe they have 1 mirror foil per pack without a regular holo and the rest are just normal cards. We don't know yet. July's a long way away, but at least they're trying something different. And I will maintain hope that this could be a big positive turn for these types of sets. In addition to this, some news came out yesterday that going forward, all first edition Japanese booster boxes are guaranteed to have a full art or better inside. This is monumental and long overdue, especially if it applies to the plus sets. A booster box of the main expansions with 30 packs per booster box has approximately a 75% chance for a full art or better. For a case of 12 boxes, which is what I'm accustomed to purchasing now, that means 3 more SR, HR, or UR cards, which both improves the value of the boxes and improves how watchable they are on YouTube for you as a content consumer. For the plus sets and their 50% pull rates, a case of 20 boxes just got 10 more full arts in them. Provided this information applies to those expansions, of course, we're not positive on that yet, but I'm certainly hopeful that that's the case, and if that is the case, I can stomach whatever they decide to do with these sets going forward with the imminent changes. Now, regardless of the outcome of Sun and Moon 3 Plus, here's what I think needs to change about reprints in the TCG. Number 1, just stop reprinting the same cards over and over again. Number 2, if you must reprint, make some new artwork. Pay the artists. Number 3, don't charge more than you should for cards we already have, especially if you're going to replace almost a quarter of our cards with energies. Number 4, the sets should possess the value, not just a few cards in them. Give us more than one reason to keep opening packs. I don't want to be hunting just that one really playable GX and those really rare hyper rares or anything like that. I want to be able to enjoy the set all the way through. And number 5, full arts and hyper rares should be more common in reprint sets, not less, which it seems like they're already working on, which if we were going to nullify any of the points on here, this is probably the one that I would have shot for. I mean, I want to continue to trust them, but the way the TCG has gone in the past year, it's getting harder and harder to do so. It's okay to lack originality once in a while, or occasionally charge more for some special set, or make some sets harder to finish, but when you do this all at the same time, you lose customers. The evidence of that is everyone who's stopped collecting in the last 6 months or announced their imminent departure. I fear that the best of X and Y is the exception that's proving the new rule in the TCG, and though the guaranteed full art in every box is a great leap forward, if they don't keep that forward momentum, they're going to keep losing people who have just supported them for years. And that's really not the kind of look that they're going to want heading into increasingly expensive sets to complete. So this took a while to script and put together, and I actually had to write it twice because of the news that was released yesterday, so thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below, and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed yourself here. I'm a collector first and foremost, with hundreds upon hundreds of Japanese boxes opened on the channel over the years, so if this gives off the impression that all I do is talk, well, you'd kinda still be correct, because I gotta do something while opening all those packs, right? Thanks again for checking out the video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.